The footsteps began exactly when the house went dark. The power cut was sudden, violent in its silence, as if the building itself had inhaled and refused to breathe out again. One moment the living room was dimly lit by a single lamp, and the next everything collapsed into shadow. The refrigerator died mid-hum. The wall clock stopped ticking. Outside, the rain continued to fall, tapping against the windows with uneven rhythm. But inside the house there was nothing. No sound, no light, no reassurance. Evan stood frozen near the staircase, his phone already in his hand, its screen the only source of light left. Before he could even unlock it, before his mind could fully register the blackout, something else cut through the silence. Footsteps. They came from upstairs, slow, measured, heavy enough to be unmistakable. Evan did not move. His breathing became shallow, almost cautious, as if the sound might hear him in return. The footsteps were not running. They were not hurried. They sounded deliberate, as though whoever or whatever was walking knew the house well enough to move without urgency. The upstairs had been empty. He was certain of that. Earlier that evening, Evan had done what he always did when he stayed at his late aunt's house. He checked every room. It had become a habit since inheriting the place 3 months ago. The house was old, built in the late 1980s, and it settled constantly. Pipes knocked, floorboards complained, but footsteps were different. Footsteps carried weight, intention, and direction. The phone's flashlight flickered on, casting a narrow cone of pale light across the hallway. Dust particles floated through the beam, suspended like something alive. The staircase rose ahead of him, its wooden steps vanishing into darkness. Another footstep sounded, this one closer to the top of the stairs. Evan swallowed hard. His mind raced through possibilities, a delayed echo, a trick of the house cooling after the power loss, his imagination reacting to fear. But the sound came again, followed by a faint creak, the kind that only came from someone shifting their weight. Someone upstairs was moving. Earlier that night had been unremarkable. Evan had arrived just before sunset to sort through more of his aunt's belongings. The house had been empty since her death, untouched except for his occasional visits. Neighbors lived far apart, separated by trees and long gravel driveways. The isolation was part of why she had loved the place. Now, that isolation pressed in on him. The footsteps stopped. Silence returned, thicker than before. Evan waited, counting seconds he could no longer measure without the clock. His phone battery sat at 22%. No signal bars. Storms often knocked out the cell tower in this area. Then came a new sound, a slow drag. Something moved across the floor upstairs, not walking now, but sliding. The noise traveled from one end of the upper hallway to the other, pausing briefly above the staircase, directly over Evan's head. His chest tightened. The sound was too controlled to be an animal, too steady to be the house settling. It felt aware. He backed away from the stairs, his foot brushing against something on the floor. A framed photograph tipped over, the glass cracking loudly as it hit the hardwood. The sharp sound echoed through the house. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the footsteps resumed, faster this time. They moved toward the staircase. Evan's heart pounded so loudly he was certain it could be heard. His phone light trembled as his grip tightened. The air felt colder now, unnaturally so, as if the blackout had drained warmth from the walls themselves. He retreated into the living room, positioning himself behind the couch, eyes locked on the staircase. The darkness above seemed deeper than the rest of the house, swallowing the light before it could reach the top step. A shadow shifted. Not a full figure, just a distortion, like the darkness itself had leaned forward. Then the footsteps stopped again. Minutes passed, or maybe seconds. Time had lost its structure. Evan's thoughts turned inward, grasping for rational explanations. He told himself that stress could do this, that grief, isolation, and expectation could create sounds where none existed. His aunt had died suddenly in this house, an aneurysm, according to the report. No foul play, no mystery. But his aunt had also complained, toward the end, about noises upstairs. He remembered dismissing it at the time. A faint mechanical click broke the silence. The doorbell camera activated. Evan flinched. The small monitor mounted near the front door flickered to life, powered by its internal battery. Normally, it only activated with motion outside. The screen glowed faintly, splitting the darkness with a grainy black and white image. Someone was standing at the front door. Number, not standing. The timestamp blinked at the bottom of the screen. The time was wrong.
Minutes passed. Or maybe seconds. Time had lost its structure. Evan's thoughts turned inward, grasping for rational explanations. He told himself that stress could do this. That grief, isolation, and expectation could create sounds where none existed. His aunt had died suddenly in this house, an aneurysm, according to the report. No foul play. No mystery. But his aunt had also complained, toward the end, about noises upstairs. He remembered dismissing it at the time. A faint mechanical click broke the silence. The doorbell camera activated. Evan flinched. The small monitor mounted near the front door flickered to life, powered by its internal battery. Normally, it only activated with motion outside. The screen glowed faintly, splitting the darkness with a grainy black and white image. Someone was standing at the front door. No. Not standing. The figure on the screen was barely visible, partially obscured by static. It appeared too close to the camera, its shape distorted. Evan moved closer, squinting. The timestamp blinked at the bottom of the screen. The time was wrong. It showed footage from 6 minutes earlier. Before the power outage. The image shifted. The figure leaned closer to the lens, then disappeared from view, not stepping back, but dropping downward, as if sinking out of frame. The camera feed cut out. Upstairs, a floorboard creaked. Evan turned slowly, dread blooming fully now. Whatever had triggered the camera was no longer outside. The realization settled heavily in his chest. The danger was already inside the house. The phone in his hand buzzed once, a low battery warning. The footsteps began again, this time descending. One step at a time. Each creak echoed through the stairwell, closer than before. Evan felt trapped between the living room and the front door, unsure which direction carried more risk. His instincts screamed to run, but his legs refused to move. The air smelled different now, stale, metallic, like something long closed had been opened. The footsteps reached the bottom step. The darkness at the top of the stairs seemed to spill downward, stretching unnaturally along the wall. Evan's phone light barely touched it, the beam thinning as if being absorbed. Then the footsteps stopped. Nothing emerged. The silence stretched, oppressive and absolute. Evan took one careful step toward the door. The hardwood creaked under his weight, betraying him. Immediately, the darkness shifted again, retreating slightly, as if reacting. His phone battery dropped to 10%. He reached the door, fingers shaking as he wrapped them around the handle. Before he could turn it, the doorbell camera monitor flickered back on. This time, the feed showed the living room. His living room. The angle was wrong, too high, tilted downward, as if recorded from the ceiling. Evan stared at the screen, his mind refusing to process what he was seeing. The footage showed him standing at the door, hand on the handle, phone glowing in his grasp. But the timestamp was current. The camera was recording him from inside the house. The realization hit with crushing clarity, something else was controlling the camera. Something that could see him from angles he could not see himself. The footage zoomed slightly. Behind Evan's recorded image, a shape stood near the base of the stairs. Tall. Still. Indistinct. The monitor went black. Evan spun around. There was nothing behind him. No figure. No movement. Just the staircase and the darkness clinging to it. His phone battery dropped to 5%. The footsteps began again, but not from the stairs. They came from the hallway behind him. From the direction of the bedrooms. Evan moved instinctively now, bolting for the front door. He yanked it open and stumbled out into the rain-soaked night. Cold air slammed into him, sharp and grounding. He didn't stop running until he reached his car, fumbling for the keys, hands numb with fear. The engine roared to life. Only then did he look back. Evan drove away without looking back again. The power company later confirmed a brief outage caused by storm damage. The system rebooted automatically after 11 minutes. When Evan returned the next day with daylight and courage bolstered by exhaustion, the house appeared normal. No signs of forced entry. No disturbed furniture. No damage beyond the broken photo frame he remembered. He checked the doorbell camera footage. There was nothing. No figure outside. No interior recording. No corrupted files. Just one clip remained. A short video recorded during the outage. It showed the upstairs hallway, empty and dark. Then, faintly, footsteps could be heard. And at the very end of the clip, just before it cut off, the sound of breathing, slow, close, and unmistakably not Evan's. The house was put up for sale a week later. No one moved in. Months passed. The listing photos still show the staircase. If watched closely, some viewers claim the shadow near the top doesn't match the lighting. And the doorbell camera? It still activates sometimes during storms. Even though the house is empty.